Hey everyone, I am Nitij, and in today's tutorial, we will be doing the integration of Google Cloud's text-to-speech API with a Node.js backend and a React frontend. This combination allows us to bring the dynamic and interactive audio features into our web applications. So this is the page where you can find more information about Google Cloud's text-to-speech API, along with a section where you can demo your own text and you can convert it into speech audio, and you can select different voice types. So all of these different voice types belong to different kinds of pricing tiers. I think Studio and Neural 2 are the most expensive ones, and the basic voice type is the cheapest one. It allows us to call the text-to-speech API for a number of times, which is free for a month, and beyond that usage we will have to start paying based on the pricing tier. And the way to use this API is to simply click on this show JSON link, and then this is the URL which we need to hit with the post request, and this is the request body. So basically whatever configuration settings that we will select in this form, it will be reflected over here in this request body, and then we can copy it directly and then we can use it in our Node.js backend. But because this service is not free, for that reason we will have to first sign up for an account on Google Cloud. Once we have done that, then we can open up the Google Cloud's dashboard with our account, and this is the project which I will be using, under which I will be calling this text-to-speech API. The project name is tutorial, and you can always create a new project by clicking on this drop down over the top and then click on this new project over here. There will be a series of steps which you will have to follow to create a new project. Once you have created your new project, then you will have to enable the text-to-speech API, and to do that I'm just going to click on this enabled API and services link from the left menu. In this screen you can see which APIs are enabled for you. If you are not seeing this cloud text-to-speech in the list, then you will have to first enable it, and that can be done by clicking on this enable APIs and services button. So over here you can search for the text-to-speech, so text-to-speech, press enter. When you will do that, then you will see a bunch of options. You will have to select this one, cloud text-to-speech. Click on it and then you can enable it by clicking on a button. Right now it is enabled for me, that's why I'm seeing a different button. Once you will enable it, then you will see the screen like this. Now to use the API, first you will have to create a service account for secure access, and that can be done by clicking on this navigation menu and then going to the APIs and services and then click on credentials. Once you will do that, you will be presented with a screen like this. I have already created a service account. You can also create a new service account by clicking on manage service accounts link and then click on this button create service account. Once you have done that, you will have to create an API key which can be used to access a bunch of different Google's services. So I have already created an API key for our tutorial video, but I will show you how you can create a new API key. Just click on this create credentials button and then select API key. Once you will do that, then a new API key will be created for you. But I would suggest you to place restrictions on your API key so that it cannot be used for every other service out there which is enabled for your account. So to place any restrictions, you just have to click on your API key. Now another page will open up for this key, and scroll down, select restrict key, then select the APIs which you want to be able to be used via this API key. So for text-to-speech, I'm just going to check it and then click on OK, click on save. Now this API key can only be used for the Google Cloud's text-to-speech API. So because I already have created an API key for our tutorial video, I'm just going to delete this newly created one because we don't really need it. Alright, so that was everything we need to do to set up your Google Cloud account to be able to use the text-to-speech API. Now, before we start to build our backend and frontend, let me quickly give you the demo of the project that we will be eventually building. So this is an input where we can enter our text, and we can then click on the synthesize button to synthesize the speech audio by using Google TTS. So I'm just going to write hello there. Now click on synthesize. A web audio player has been displayed. I am just going to reduce the volume to 50% so that it is not too loud. Now click on play button.
Hello there.
So you can see that the hello there text is now converted into speech audio. Now it's time to build our React Frontend and Node.js Backend. First, I will build the backend part. So let's do that. In the server folder, I am going to initialize a new Node application by running in the terminal npm init. Let's select all the default values. Now in this server folder, I will create a new file with the name server.js, and let me just close everything that we don't need. Zoom it in a little bit more, and now in this Node backend, we are going to need some dependency packages. Those are Express, so let me just install them. Express and Axios and Cars. Yep, these are the ones that we are going to need. So the packages have been installed, and now we can start to import them. So const express equals to require express. Similarly, let's import Axios, and let's also import Cars for cross origin resource sharing settings. So Cars. All right, first let's create the Express app. So const app equals to express, and we can call express app dot express.json to parse the application JSON content type that we will have to do when our front end is going to provide the text which we need to convert to speech audio in the JSON format in the request body, but we will come to that later. First let's call app.use and then express.json, and apart from this we will also have to add the middleware for Cars. So app.use app.use and then Cars. The options argument is going to be origin, and over here I'm just going to provide the localhost port 3000 as the whitelisted origin. So whenever a request will hit our backend endpoint from this URL, then it will be allowed to access the server resources. Now it's time to create the endpoint which our React frontend is going to call. So for that, I'm just going to create a post endpoint with the name synthesize. So synthesize and then async request and response. This callback function is going to be an arrow function. Let's close it. We will have to remove this bracket. Now the first thing that I will do is I will fetch the text from the request body. So request.body.text, and then let's have a constant for the API key. Now the best practice for API keys is to either store them in environment variables or in a dedicated key manager, but I'm just going to paste it over here for this tutorial video. Next we are going to set up our endpoint's URL. So const endpoint that we will be going to call from our backend server is going to be it's going to be this one. Let's copy it, paste it over here, but we will also have to provide the API key as the parameter. So for that, in the end, I'm just going to provide the value key equals to, and because this is a template string, I can simply provide API key which will be inserted into this string. Next we need to create the payload. So const payload equals to, now for payload what we can do is we can copy the request body from this text to speech page, and let's select the configuration options first. For voice type, I am going to use the basic one because it's the cheapest and I can be sure that no cost will be incurred while we call the API for any other voice type. And for voice name, you can use any one of these. Let's just stick with standard A. You can experiment with different voice types if you want to integrate this API in your project. So now I'm just going to copy this request body from over here by clicking on this button and paste it. I'm sorry, it's not copied. Copy it and then paste it over here. Now we are going to use a different audio encoding. Let's use MP3. And apart from this, we can use the text which we are going to fetch from the requests body. So I'm going to delete this and replace it with our input text, and the rest of this stuff can be used as it is. Okay, now it's time to hit the endpoint. So const response equals to await and then axios dot post endpoint and payload. Okay, let me just scroll up. Now we can return the response with a JSON value, which is going to be the response dot data. Now this response dot data is going to contain the base64 format audio content, which we will consume in our front end. But for now, I think this is all we need to do for this endpoints callback function. Now let's expose our backend and listen to the requests on port 3001. So const port equals to 3001 and then app dot listen. Let's provide the port number as an argument and then a callback function. So this callback function is going to notify us that it is listening on this port. So server running on port, hold on, this is going to be a string, server running on port 3001, although we should use the template string, but okay, we are not going to change it. So yeah, let's use it. And apart from this, we have to provide the API key as well. So for that, I am just going to open up this API key 1 and copy the key from over here, which is this one, copy to clipboard. Now paste it over here, and I think that is everything we need to do for our server. Now I'm just going to run node and then it's server.js, right? So node server.js, it says server running on port 3000. Now let's come to our front end. So the front end app is in the client folder with the name React Google TTS, and we will create a component, or actually instead of creating a component, we can simply make our changes in the app.js file. So yeah, let's do it. In the meantime, I am also going to execute npm start so that our React application can be started before we are done writing our code. So I'm just going to remove this default stuff from over here, this header element and also the logo as well. Now in our app.js, first I'm going to create the state variable for the text input. So text and then set text equals to use state. Okay, so use state is not being listed as an IntelliSense option, so I'm just going to, I guess I will have to write it. Okay, use state from React. We will need another state variable for the audio source. So const audio src set audio src equals to use state. Now for the text, we can use the initial value as an empty string, and for this audio src, we can use null as an initial value. Now when we will get the response from our Node backend, then we will simply set this audio src with the audio content. So yeah, let's do that. Now I'm just going to paste some HTML over here, which is pretty straightforward to fetch the input from the user, and then on a button click we will call a function which is going to call our backend synthesize endpoint which we have created. So this is an h1 element for heading, and this is the text area which is going to on change update the text state variable. This is the button which will be clicked to call the API, and then this is the audio element. So when we have the audio src or audio source available, then only this audio element is going to be rendered. Let's also update the styling information for the root div as well. I'm also going to add some default styling for the elements that we are adding, just to make our inputs look a little bit better. Now let's implement the handle synthesize function. So I'm just going to create a new function with the name handle synthesize. This is going to be an async function, so handle synthesize, and then let's import Axios as well because we will need that. Hold on, import Axios from Axios. Okay, I don't know why my IntelliSense is not working, maybe some configuration mismatch, but in any case I think these packages can be used when we will import them. So for handle synthesize, the first thing that I will do is I will fetch the response from our Node.js backend. So this can be done by simply calling response equals to await and then axios dot post. Now I'm just going to write the URL where our Node.js backend is listening. So HTTP and then localhost on port 3001, and then the name of the endpoint is synthesize. And after this we can provide the payload for this API, which is simply going to be the text. And yeah, I think that's everything we need to do. Let me just format it. Now after we have got the response, we can set the audio source. So const audio src equals to, so this audio src is different from this one. This is state variable. This is scoped locally, but this is scoped at a component level or a function level, app function level. All right, so first we will have to construct the audio src by using a special format which is relevant to the mp3 files in the base64 format. So this can be done by simply typing data and then audio mp3, and it is in the base64 format, the content that we will be receiving. And then we can simply write the response dot data dot audio content, and after this we can simply call set audio src function and provide our audio src. So that is pretty much everything we need to do. We can add some boilerplate for error handling, but I don't think that will be needed for our tutorial. So let's save it and see if our code is now working in our browser or not. It says module not found, can't resolve Axios, because we have not installed Axios. So yeah, let's do that. I am just going to open up a new terminal window and then cd into client and then cd into React Google TTS npm install Axios. So Axios has been installed. So now our application is running when we have installed Axios. Now it's time to test it. So I'm just going to enter some text here. Now click on synthesize and nothing has happened. So something must have gone wrong. It says network error. So let's check our code, what is wrong with it. Okay, so I think I have done a typo over here in the URL. So let's fix it and then save it. Now let's test again. Hello world. Click on synthesize. It looks to be working this time, and I'm just going to reduce the volume to 50% so that it is not too much to hear. Now play it.
Hello world.
Yep, it's working. Now the voice is different from our demo because we are using a different voice type, which is this one, or voice name, not voice type, which is standard A. And in the demo we were using some other voice name. Now I must tell you that the that the premium voices like Studio and Neural 2, they sound very good, but they are very expensive. So make sure that you have done a cost analysis of your projected usage in your project before you decide to go or select any of the voice types. And this is how you can integrate Google Text to Speech API service into your React Frontend and Node.js Backend project. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and if you did, please consider subscribing for more content like this. Your support means a lot and helps me create more tutorials. I am Nitij, and it was great walking you through this process. Remember, the world of technology is vast and always evolving, so keep learning and experimenting. Until next time, happy coding!